Welcome back to Winning the Game of Life. I'm your host Sudershan Chhabra. Today I'm featuring a very special guest. She's a very young girl. She was like a kind of part of UN's Together for Girls Global thing, something. I'll ask her in a minute. And she's a Huffington Post contributor. She's a speaker. She's a media personality. And she's an industrial engineer. And on top of that, she's a go-getter girl. The very first interview I did in my life was Mr. Bob Berg, and his program was Go Giver. So today on contrary, I got a girl. She's a go-getter. So let us welcome this beautiful young girl. Her name is Shinjini Das. Welcome to the show, Shinjini.
Hi, Shawn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
How about you just in a couple of minutes tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll take from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Shawn said, my name is Shinjini Das. I am a speaker, media personality, Huffington Post contributor, and engineer. So, definitely a big proponent of STEM. Very excited to be here. One of my top sort of issues that I care about deeply is women's empowerment, as well as really empowering millennials and everyone to become go-getters in their lives.
Okay, how about we go a little back and start from your little more background, like how you became what you are today. Like does it like you was like a public speaking material when you was in high school or childhood or maybe kindergarten, or when and how you discovered that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I will say that I was a very, very shy kid growing up, really, really shy, like painfully shy. So definitely, it came later. But how it happened was in middle school, when I was 13, and it was the 8th grade graduation ceremony. Individual, asked me to give the 8th grade graduation speech, and I just gave it. Obviously I had no background in speaking, never done it before, but I was 13 and I did it, and everybody said, "You should do this." And I said, "What do you mean you should do this?" He said, "You should speak." I said, "But I mean, everybody speaks, right?" They said, no, there's a difference between talking and speaking. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Let me explore that further. And so everybody who was at the graduation convinced me and persuaded me to take up speech and debate in high school. And so I went to high school. This was when I was in 9th grade, 14 years old, and started speech and debate and really, really enjoyed it. I think that the experience of writing a speech on whatever topic that I wanted. So it was pretty much on any persuasive topic. So like my first speech was on how we shouldn't stereotype. So not a very riveting, idea or concept, but it's about how you deliver it, how you package it. And so that idea was very, very exciting to me. And what had ended up happening, Shawn, was I won a lot. So 10th grade, 11th grade, I won a lot of competitions, got a lot of different experiences with speaking, like Future Business Leaders of America competition, speech and debate, graduated high school as a top 10 national finalist in public speaking as part of FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. And I graduated and I said, okay, now what? And so essentially, it all started at about 13, 14, and I haven't stopped ever since.
But how you got from there you became industrial engineer, and
Yeah.
then I see somewhere like you was in the part of some UNO, United Nations, some program. What was that?
Yeah. So a lot has happened. Speaking came first, I will say that, right? So in terms of me, I mean, I'm not trained officially, right? It is very organic. I think about my message, I think about how to package it, and so that, and it's just grown. I think I've learned on the job, as I like to say, because it's not like I had any formal training, and so I've just learned along the way. And so how the industrial engineering thing happened was I graduated high school, got the President's Scholarship to attend Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, and majored in industrial engineering because I was very clear that, I wanted to do STEM. I wanted to major in STEM and in engineering and get that analytical skill set. And so that happened. And then after I graduated over the past year or so, I signed with a publicist for media. And so that's how essentially my name, reached a lot more corners than it would have just on my own as a speaker. And so the UN Together for Girls honor is the fact that every year they honor a couple of global heroes. And so this year they honored 16 global heroes, and they honored me for my work to advocate for women's empowerment and to advocate for gender equality and youth empowerment as well.
So what's next in your life? Like, where are you taking this, like a women entrepreneur and young kids or young whatever empowerment you're doing, you know. So where are you taking it? What's next?
Yeah, great question. So what's next is essentially, monetizing all of this into my own company at some point in the future. Again, like you mentioned, I'm really young, and so my vision is evolving as I evolve and I change. And I know that, 5 years from now, probably where I am will be different from where I am now, and just of where my mind is. So, but yeah, definitely, a company, my own company, a media company. So where that is, exactly what that is, you guys will have to stay tuned to find out.
But how, like, I'll be asking you two questions: how you became a media personality,
Yeah.
and when are you becoming full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, great question. So, media personality came from the speaking. Again, speaking came first. I was giving a lot of speeches, doing well with that, learning and growing. And in March of last year, pretty much a year ago, exactly a year ago, I made my website, called Public Speaker. It was very exciting. I had never had a website before. And someone on Twitter actually reached out, and she's a social media influencer, like Forbes top 50 social media influencer. She reached out and she said, "You need a publicist." And I said, "What do you mean? I'm a speaker," because for me it was speaking and TV. I mean, pretty different, although similar qualities, right? You speak, you influence, you inspire. But she said, "You need a publicist." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "No, you're good." And I said, "Okay, what?" I mean, I'm falling from the sky. It's not like I know anybody on TV. Let me ask my friends who have publicists, And so it was very foreign, but I took her up on it. I called this person that she referred me to, and we hit it off. We bonded really well, and she's been invaluable to me ever since, So I signed with her, and really it's changed my life. And so I have a lot of exciting news coming up. Very, very amazing, actually. But over the last, I've been on TV shows. I've been interviewed on Sirius XM. I have going to be quoted in Teen Vogue in the March issue. So I mean, there's just a lot coming up in terms of my brand and how it evolved. So that's how it happened. Essentially, long story short, I was discovered.
I'm very happy for you. I can see all that happiness and excitement there. So now I think I can see you're going to become a full-time entrepreneur soon. I think
Yeah.
sooner
Yeah.
sooner than what.
Sooner than later. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think
So
that
what are the
that's,
challenges? What are you facing? What are the problems?
yeah. Great question, great question. So I think, and I mentioned this to you before we started recording, identifying my vision has been probably the most difficult thing, right? Just because, again, I am so young, I am new in this space. So as I grow and evolve, my vision is also changing and evolving. But somewhere I have realized pretty early on that you have to take action, right? I mean, it's not just about thinking about what you want to do and having this great vision, but not making it come to reality is not going to work. And so I'm very decisive in that. And so I tell myself, I said, okay, I have this much time to think about what I want to do. And let's say with the speaking, right? So where is my next engagement going to be? How do I want to present that next engagement? Because I'm very cognizant that everything that I do from now on is a part of my brand, right? My social media presence, my overall, long-term brand strategy, where it's all going, whether that's the company, whether that's, media, whether that's coaching. So I think identifying my vision for what I want myself to be, that's been the hardest. And I know that it's going to continue to evolve.
So what do you suggest to other younger people in your age, or like
Yeah.
maybe where you was 5 years back?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you suggest them? Like they should follow a path like that? Speaking is such a powerful tool. I can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
it's opening so many doors for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, look, it's not for everyone, right? Like if someone was a doctor, right? I don't think he or she can say that everybody should pursue medicine, right? So I'm never going to say that. For me, this is the path, and this has always kind of been there. I just never saw it as a career, I never saw it as a full-time opportunity. But I think for everyone, and this is what I say to everyone, my friends, fellow millennials, fellow young people, that I think you have to introspect and think. For me, when I graduated college, I had my degree in industrial engineering, I had a full-time job lined up, but I still knew that I can't give this up. I can't just stop speaking. Because to me, that is a part of who I am. And so if I stop doing that, a part of me dies. So I think I would recommend, and I have recommended on an interview on ABC in Sacramento, I said, think about what you want to do. Think about what you can't live without. And for some people that's art, I don't know. For some people that's music. For me, it's speaking. And if you think about it, everything that I'm doing is related to that. And I've always had a business savvy. I've always had a business edge. And so transforming all of it into a business, like it's pretty natural for me because that aligns everything about who I am and what I like. And so, yeah, I think somewhere you have to find what you're passionate about, what adds value to the world, and what just makes you happy. Because I think you'll agree, Shawn, you're going to do it a lot. You're going to spend a lot of hours on it. And so if you don't like it or if you're not happy with it, it's not going to be the best situation, right? So figuring out that intersection of what makes you happy, what makes you come alive, and what adds value to the world is beautiful. And I must say, I feel like I'm on track.
I see that happiness right there. So at least you have discovered that for yourself,
Yeah, but it doesn't come easy, right? I mean, admittedly, I've spent hours and hours and hours on my own figuring this out. I don't want to lie and tell people that I was just born and figured it out, because that's not what happened. That's not what happened. And every juncture I just kept rediscovering and kept going, and doors kept opening and I kept following them, and ultimately you have to work very hard. There can't be less emphasis placed on work ethic. So
so during this journey, can you think of some time when you were really thinking like this is really not for you, you should quit doing it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was the beginning. So graduated in May 2014. End of 2014 was really tough because I was just looking at all the possible avenues, especially for speaking, because as you can imagine, being good as a speaker in school versus speaking to professional audiences is pretty different, right? It's pretty different. And so when I was trying to essentially get a break in the professional world, in the, adult world, so to speak, not student world, there were a lot of rejections. In the beginning, people were like, "Oh, yeah, you're good, but we don't have space. We're not interested. Whatever." And then I thought, "Wow, this is how do you do this? How do you build up credibility? How do you view yourself, or rather, how do you get taken seriously?" Especially because I was so young then, and it was hard. It was really hard. And then everybody said you should be on social media. If you want to do all this, and I was like, "Man, I've never joined Twitter before." And I started to. I said, "How do you do this? How do you tweet? How do you get people to follow you? I don't know anybody on Twitter. It's not like I can ask my friends to follow me. Most of my friends are not on Twitter." So there were a lot of challenges in the beginning, and I think I was just mostly concerned about how I would break through. How will I break? Because I knew that once I break through, it's not to say that it's easy, but I think you would agree that it's easier. Just establishing that first footprint was so hard. And I really, because I was looking at all these certifications, professional speaker certification. Each of those courses, Shawn, is like $4,000. And I said, "So should I spend that? I mean, why?" And then I talked to people and they said, no. I mean, that has no bearing on you getting booked as a speaker, even if you're some professional certified speaker. And so I said, "Okay, well, I'm not going down that route." And so I was very decisive about that. But yeah, I mean, it's been, roadblock after roadblock, but you overcome them and you grow and you figure it out. So
No,
that's
but I want to get in your head, like
yeah.
there may be time like you may be losing focus, or you may be having some fear of failure, and you may be just hiding under the table and thinking like, "I'm done, I don't want to do it." Then how you come out of that? How you are able to still be that successful and that happy and keep moving in the right direction. So how you take care of that fear and rejections in your head?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think somewhere, I've trained myself to do this, is to be really mentally strong and to say that, look, this is my dream, right? No one forced this on me. None of my parents are telling me to do this every day, right? This is my dream. And so I have to be strong about it. I have to believe in myself and really isolate myself in. I'm someone who functions very well in solitude, because I need time to think, I need time to grow. And so that's my home base. I isolate myself from all negativity, from all noise, and say that, look, what do I want to do? Oh, I want to achieve this. I want to become a speaker. What has happened? Oh, a couple of people have said no. It's not the end of the world, 5 people have said no, 95 will say yes, so I think that's how I deal with it. And somewhere I isolate myself, so in answer to your question, I stay in my head a lot. I isolate myself in my head and I just focus on what needs to be done and I try to remove all emotion. Again, this is not to say that it's easy, right? It's something that you learn and grow with over time, but I try to take the emotion out of it that, oh, I feel so bad and people rejected me. It's not that bad, right? I mean, what, two people said no? Yeah, maybe it doesn't fit, but 98 people will say yes. So somewhere just being really strong and positive self-talk is
Yeah.
really helpful, that I believe in myself and I know that I can do it. Maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. So just being very optimistic and forging forward. Because I have this thing that I say in my head, like, I may not be the smartest, maybe I'm not the best, maybe you're not the best, but if we don't give up, I don't think anybody can compete with us.
I tell you one thing, okay? You're so young and you're providing so much value to my listeners and viewers. And you talk so fast like me, so you have delivered a lot of content for the show, okay? So I want to I want to ask you if in next 5 to 7 minutes you can talk about the article, the very first article you had in Huffington Post,
Yeah.
and that became so popular, and probably you became so popular because of that.
Yes.
Can you summarize that maybe in 5 minutes or something?
Yes, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. The first article was Five Secrets of a Go-Getter Girl, and even that was discovered. So I had written that for another publication, and an editor at Huffington was reached out, and she loved it, and she wanted me to contribute. Of course, I was ecstatic, started crying, but really, really amazing, right? Because if you think about it, the idea that I talked about, which is essentially that women's ambitions are sexy, right? It's amazing being an ambitious woman, and usually what's the stereotype? Women are bitchy, they're I don't know, not fun to work with, or what. I'm sure you've heard all of that as well, as had I, and I just wanted to spin the narrative on its head and say that no, I don't think that's the case. I think it's amazing. I think I consider myself a very nice person, a very good person, so it's not like just being ambitious equals you're sort of hungry to achieve at all costs or whatever, which is what I and many other women had heard growing up. And so that was the impetus behind the article, Five Secrets of a Go-Getter Girl, and it just it took on a life of its own. Got tweeted and shared by so many, not even just women, men. Men in Nigeria, Turkish women groups, India, Venezuela. I mean, literally worldwide, people blogged about how they have go-getter girls in their lives. A woman blog. I think this was the most special. A woman blogged that her husband was helping her become a go-getter girl, and this article inspired that. And I just that's what you want. As a writer, you want people to connect with your material. If they connect with me, I'm flattered, but I need them and I want them to connect with my material. And I think they did that in such a beautiful way. And even now I get messages, I'm a go-getter girl, I'm so happy and proud. And I think that to me was a big deal, Shawn, because no one was giving this ambition in women a positive spin at all. And so the fact that not only did I do that, but that it received such a response was a big deal for me. It was a really big deal because here was this fairly controversial topic and people were just embracing it and loving it and owning it and messaging me saying like, thank you for writing this, thank you for empowering women. Just the other day I got a message from Ukraine. This girl saying, thank you for all you're doing, to empower women worldwide. And so it was just overwhelming. And so that was one of my, that was the first one. And the other one that was a really big high for me was I wrote an article about 6 truths from the diary of a good girl, because I'm sure you've heard, bad girls are sort of in, right? I mean, it's like cool to be bad, but my thing was, no, it's good to be good. I consider myself, fairly mainstream, and I'm doing, a lot of cool stuff, but I'm good. I have morals, I have standards, I have ethics, I have principles that I will never compromise on. And so that was the whole article, that, these are the things that a good girl would do. Same thing. I mean, people tweeted me, said, I'm a good girl. Thank you for sharing my story. Because I think that was something that, I'm very cognizant about, is as good girls, and boys as well, people who will never sacrifice their morals for who we are and all of that. We're not really represented, in mainstream media. We're not really seen as cool, we're seen as like, oh, they're the nerds.
Maybe you are seen like a selfish, and you're being so selfish, and
Yeah,
that's
well,
all you care.
Exactly, and are just nerds, like they're not cool. Like
Yeah.
they're like studying all the time. They're goody two shoes. But my thing was, I think there's a way to be cool as well as good, And so a lot of people messaged me saying thank you for representing my story. I never felt seen before in the media, and so I think I take that as a big responsibility, even moving forward, is to represent not only my own people, as Indians and Indian Americans in America in a space that's not particularly dominated by Indians yet, but also as someone who comes from a slightly non-traditional background, right? I'm an engineer. All my friends, are engineers, doctors. So when they see me on TV, they're like, "What's going on?" So for me, I feel a very big responsibility to represent my people and my community, and I'm really, really excited that that's happened so far.
I'm so happy for you. So we are very close to the end of the show.
Sure.
Do you have any special advice for like a young entrepreneur who may be still on the borderline, undecided or decided, even if you to go in the business and become self-employed, like whatever you are trying to do right now?
Yeah.
Do you have any special advice, last minute advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think do it. I think that would be the biggest advice, because I must say, especially when you're young, Shawn, look, it's a little bit lower of a risk option, right? As 20-somethings, we admittedly have a little bit less on our plates than we probably would at 30 or 40. So I think now is the time to do it, and now is the time to identify that vision, to really fine tune it, to pinpoint it, and just to dive in and get it done. One of my biggest sort of principles is, dreamer to go-getter. So dreaming is good and it's great, but somewhere you just have to go in and get it done. And somewhere, look, if you fail, it's fine. You learn a lot of great lessons, and you move on. It's not something that will scar you for the rest of your life. But if you succeed, oh my God, you're a success story at 25, 26. So I think for all the entrepreneurs listening, young and old, now's the time to do it, because I think the last thing you want to do is live with regret. And I knew for me, if I didn't take up the media opportunity, I would regret it every day for the rest of my life. And I knew that I cannot live with that. And so I went all in, and it's been a superb journey so far. So yes, for all the entrepreneurs listening, I think you guys should all go in, because there's no day like today.
You are so inspirational. Someday I will come and sit in the audience and listen to your speech, okay?
I hope so, Shawn. I hope so.
Very good, very good. Thanks for coming to the show. And I enjoyed, and hopefully my listeners and viewers will enjoy and learn something from you.
Absolutely. I hope so. And definitely everybody listening, connect with me. I'd love to hear from all of you. I'm at Twitter at Speaker Shinjini. That's SpeakerShinjini. And visit my website, book me to speak at www.shinjinidas.com.
Very good. We'll put all those links
Sure.
all over the places.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
LaptopUniverse.com CEO Indu Chhabra announced the launch of BuybackQueen.com. This newly launched reverse e-commerce website buys back used old electronics, old iPhones, iPads, and all other smart devices directly from the consumers. You should not throw your old phone away, because your trash may be hitting gold. Buyback Queen wants your old device and will pay top dollars for it. The process is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Fast payments, free shipping, free data wipe, risk-free transaction. Let us make the world a cleaner place and make money by selling our device on BuybackQueen.com.